So before I went to Lagos, I rounded up my schooling, which was in the East. That is, and graduated. I did TTC, that is teaching education. And then I had wanted to proceed to university, which I had earlier told my husband even before we got married, which he promised to sponsor me without me knowing that he had nothing and no intention of me furthering my education, as he himself didn't go to university. So while I was in Lagos, every day he goes out with the brother, because the brother had a shop where he does business in one of all these big markets in Lagos. I never knew that he was staying in his brother's shop, just hanging around. I thought he had his own business. One day I asked him if I could start following them to the shop, as I was already tired of staying at home, as I had nowhere to go. Most of my relatives that were living in Lagos, their houses were so far away and there was not much communication to talk with them. So I was always at home watching telly when there is light, and just reading a book when there was no light, and then cooking before they get home from the market. So when I asked him if I could follow them, he bluntly refused, giving excuses that I had to settle in well before I will start going anywhere. Unknown to me, he was trying to get me pregnant so that I will stay home and never step out. But luckily for me, the pregnancy was not yet coming, even though I wasn't trying to protect it or looking for it. Everything was still new to me: the marriage, the love, and the Lagos life. So what made me decided to move back to the village was the fact that I had to always ask the younger brother for money, as he himself didn't have any money to give me. It felt so embarrassing to ask his junior brother for money to make soup, to tell him that soup has finished or that garri has finished. But then I didn't have problem with that, since we all ate together. And then later on, after like 4 months, I discovered that the shop he was going was not his own business, that he didn't have a share in his brother's business. He was just going there, sit down there. In the afternoon, the brother would buy him food, and they keep on gisting until evening, and they come back home. I didn't know he was hoping on his brother to help him get a shop and money to start business. But my mind was telling me that he was still hoping that my brother would call us and give us a big amount of money to start something. But then one day I asked him when he was going back to Europe, which he told me that he will not be going back for now. Unknown to me, he was deported for not renewing his papers, and he couldn't go back in the next 10 years. But I overheard him talking with his brother on how he could be able to travel to other countries and the business he could do there. So as we continued to hustle, I didn't know what to do, since he refused that I should go and look for work, even when I told him I had already gotten my certificate and could work as a teacher in a school in Lagos. he bluntly refused, saying that we are still living in his brother's house, that I haven't known where we are going to get our own apartment, that I should wait. When we get our own apartment, I can settle there and look for a nearby school to apply for a teaching job. Unknown to me, he didn't have any plan of getting an apartment as he had no money. So when I brought up the issue again, he started shouting, telling me to go and meet my brother to help us to get an apartment. And then we can move, or money for him to start doing something. So I was forced to call my brother once again, as he lived in Lagos, and we went together. Me and my husband went together to his office to see him, as in to go and greet him. When we got there, he welcomed us and asked after our health and everything. And then I told my brother in his face that right now I was doing nothing, and he himself has been going to the shop with his brother, and he needed some money to start something. My brother asked him what business he wants to go into. He said any type of business that he knows how to handle it. Right there and then, my brother wrote a check of 100,000, which was a very huge amount way back then, and gave it to me in his presence. I would have preferred if my brother had given me this money in private, so that I could share it into half and use some to start something for myself. But being that my brother did it in his presence, I couldn't do that. We were overjoyed and we thanked him very heartily, and we left. As soon as we got home, he was all smiles and so happy. And he said to me, now we are talking. At least this one will go a long way. It's now that I know that I have an in-law. Ogobuchionye, meaning someone's in-law is the person's God. But then, he was already making plans on how to use the money. And I was shocked I wasn't part of the plan, because I normally stay home not having anything for myself, even to buy a pad or to get my hair or my nail done. I had to ask the junior brother, who is not my husband. This is where the story begins.